Hello and welcome to this special segment of Emirates 24/7 exclusively for YouTube. I'm Katie Fielder.
And I'm Omar Butti. Welcome to your weekly guide to the news that matters from across the UAE.
What are the biggest headlines of the week and how will they change your life in the UAE?
Emirates 24/7 has the answers.
Dubai is emerging as the new global hub for aid organisations across the world. Not only does Dubai strategically connect Asia, Europe and Africa, but it is also politically stable, making it the ideal choice for humanitarian agencies.
In the last 5 years, the world's biggest NGOs have set up offices at Dubai's International Humanitarian City, making them the global base for world-class infrastructure and communication systems.
The International Humanitarian Aid and Development Conference and Exhibition is also taking place in Dubai this week, discussing the role of technology in humanitarian efforts.
Emirates 24/7's Priyanka Dutt went behind the scenes of the warehouses at the World Food Programme to see what this all means on the ground.
Earthquake in Haiti or floods in Pakistan. As soon as disaster strikes in some part of the world, it's these warehouses in Dubai that start buzzing with activity, planning humanitarian aid. This is the office of FITTEST, the emergency communications team of the United Nations World Food Programme, making Dubai the communications and logistical hub of humanitarian organizations in the world.
There's various reasons in Dubai. One of them is absolutely host government, which is very, very good and very proactive. The whole setup here, this International Humanitarian City, is basically built on the same assumption that as a hub here centrally is very tactically very good located. It's in 4-hour flight to the Africa region, 4-hour flight to the Middle East regions, very logistically very, very good connected, either port, either airport. So, and it's a free zone at the end of the day, which makes moving things around much, much easier.
When one thinks of humanitarian aid in the immediate aftermath of a disaster, you think of food, medicines, blankets, even clothes. But very few people realize that the most critical part of distributing aid efficiently is setting up an efficient communication system.
Any disaster, when it strikes, the most important or the first thing on the world is news. In order to get the news, in order to get information out of the disaster country or disaster area, there are ways and needs how to do so. So communication is one of them, and it's pretty much priority. When humanitarians are coming to the disaster zone, basically they need to start to send the message out to the world, what the situation is, what are the needs, and how to basically address them.
And so it's not strange to see the FITTEST crew always monitoring weather patterns around the world to predict or preempt impending disaster, and to also have a flyaway kit on standby, ready to fly into any part of the world on short notice. This flyaway kit is equipped with some of the most state-of-the-art equipment which can set up an independent communications office anywhere in the world. And here's a little FITTEST secret. Each box is less than 24 kilos, allowing it to be checked into any airlines in the world. So when the island of Haiti was rocked by an earthquake early last year, Dane and his team left Dubai the same night. In less than 36 hours, they'd set up a communications office in Port-au-Prince, thus allowing more than 300 aid and rescue workers to communicate with the world outside. Communications has always been a lesser-known aspect of relief work, but will occupy center stage as this year's edition of the Dubai Humanitarian Aid and Conference, or DHAD, discusses the role of new technologies in humanitarian operations. Priyanka Dutt, Emirates 24/7.
Priyanka Dutt reporting there. Well, the UAE has a well-established history of lending a helping hand. In 2009, the government and Emirati donors gave nearly 9 billion dirhams in foreign aid.
This represents 1% of the country's gross national product, well above the target recommended by the United Nations. 4.6 billion dirhams of this went towards development and humanitarian projects in the Middle East.
The topic is of particular interest in Dubai this week, with the Emirates playing host to an international conference and exhibition on aid and redevelopment.
Joining us in the studio now to help explain the role that the country plays in humanitarian causes and the importance of foreign aid is Charbel Raji, the Regional Communication Specialist for UNICEF in the Middle East and North Africa. Charbel, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks.
Now, I think one of the worst things that come out of every disaster is the way it affects children.
Right.
You know, obviously across the board, something no one wants to see. So from your experience, what are the major challenges that we're seeing with the children of the world today? And what's the UAE doing to try to help or assist in that situation?
Well, there are so many challenges. It's such a wide question. Let me just try to narrow them a little bit. I believe, UNICEF deals with children and youth, so until maybe from newborns until they're like 20 or 22, I would say. Major challenges, I would just name a few. I would say the violence against children, especially in the Middle East and North Africa. More than 90% or around 90% of children are, victims of violence at home or at school, which is a big number, I believe, and very, very alarming. On another note, there's child survival. Many of children still die before the age of 5 or even before their first year and their first anniversary. This is also very alarming, and we have so many initiatives that we started a few years ago and we're still planning on implementing to reduce the numbers and the rates. I would also speak about the importance of education, which is also a big asset to every young child, and it's a right. Actually, more than anything else, and still we have so many young boys and young girls who are not going to school, and if they go in their first early years, they drop out maybe after they're 10, which is also a big number. I would say more than 35%.
So what initiatives are we seeing to help combat these issues?
Right. Well, it's mainly about advocacy to start with. Advocacy with governments, with the private sector, with every person or party who could be involved in that. As well, you should speak about awareness campaigns with families, because families should understand the importance of education, for example, for them to make sure that their children join schools or something like that. Definitely also working with the private sector on donations and any kind of funds that you just spoke about. It also involves resource mobilization at a big level.
I mean, we've seen so many disasters happening around the world recently. We've seen the earthquake in Japan, floods in Pakistan. We've heard reports of donor fatigue setting in. What is this exactly, and how are you trying to combat it?
Yeah, we spoke about the disasters, the natural disasters happening maybe in some places, but we also have other kind of maybe political escalations happening here in the region, which is also as well very alarming, and it definitely brings some fatigue to the donors and to the UN agencies. I wouldn't call it fatigue. I would say maybe there's, especially with the financial crisis last year, we noticed that many of the governments were not able to fund the same way they used to do before. But the good news and the good thing is that the UAE is one of our top donors, especially it's in the Gulf, and they've been so far one of the biggest contributors to the UN and UNICEF activities mainly for the region. I wouldn't, I would never give up on that. And I would say that, now with new media, with the social platforms, everyone is a donor. You can go online and donate. And I was reading a couple of days ago an article on how much people spend online on items, and I'm like, oh my God, people pay so much online. You go to the internet, you log in, you buy so many expensive things, and sometimes it's $1 a day that can save a life of a child.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't say there's a fatigue of donors, but I would say there are new donors and there are new potential opportunities to raise funds and mobilize resources.
Now, you mentioned the protests. I think
Right.
that's a key, obviously, issue going on right now. How do regional aid or humanitarian organizations help balance between the needs of the region and the international causes they support?
That's a very good question, actually. And usually whenever there's anything happening, there's kind of a committee that sits together and plan ahead. What should we be doing? Who should be doing what? At what stage? At what level? Etc. Etc. And for the UNICEF, especially, I believe as well for all the UN agencies, we have country offices and we have regional offices, and of course we have our headquarters in New York and Geneva. So usually if it's something related to the region, for example, for Middle East and North Africa, it's our regional office who deals with it, with our country office, wherever the country is. If it's happening somewhere else, it's another, it's a South, for example, Africa office. That's how it is. It's usually divided. And donors, whenever they want to donate, they either can donate to the whole organization or donate for a specific project or for a specific appeal whenever there's an emergency.
Now, just finally, obviously the big conference in Dubai this week, there's a big focus on new technology that's helping humanitarian aid efforts. What are the biggest technologies being embraced and implemented right now, and how will they help change the face of aid efforts around the world?
Oh, to definitely change the face of aid a lot. And there are so many emerging technologies in that matter. Sometimes you can just SMS and donate. Sometimes you can go online and donate. I fully agree with all these new initiatives, but at the same time, especially for humanitarian organizations, this is not always practical. critical, because sometimes you have to reach to people who are in areas where there's no internet connection, where they cannot have access to any bank or any computer or even laptop, like really poor countries and really poor areas. But I would say that the new platforms and the new technologies and whatever initiatives you want to call them, they help a lot in the matter of also raising awareness, and that's also very important, because now you log in to your Facebook or Twitter account, and 2 minutes later you spread the news all over the continents and all the countries of the world, wherever you have friends or something like that. So if it's not directly related to raising funds, it's directly related to our advocacy work, which is also as valuable for us.
Well, look, we wish you the best of luck with your work in UNICEF and really appreciate you stopping by this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Charbel. Thank you.
That's all we have time for on this special segment of Emirates 24/7, exclusively on YouTube. Feel free to get in touch with us, and we'd love to hear your thoughts about all of the top stories of the week.
You can drop us a line at Emirates24-7@dmi.ae or send us a message via our Facebook page, Emirates 24/7 on Dubai One.
You can even message us via BBM or watch previous shows online at dmi.ae/Dubai One.
And of course, you can also check us out right here on youtube.com/Dubai One.
Now make sure you tune in next week when we'll have a special report from Abu Dhabi as the world's biggest environmental specialists take part of the International Renewable Energy Agency's first ever assembly.
Plus, we'll find out why the UAE has donated $1 million to the United Nations to boost news gathering efforts in the Arabic language.
And as concerns continue over Japan's Fukushima plant, we'll take a look at the future of nuclear energy.
But for now, from all of us here at the team at Emirates 24/7, it's goodbye.